Welcome back to Rocket Talk, episode 45 here, and unfortunately it's the one where we talk all about Connor.
I knew it was coming.
No, but yeah, we'll be talking about Connor and all about his nerdy upbringing in a sec. But first, guys, let's do a quick bev check. What are we drinking?
I went to Taco Bell, and I wonder if, I got a Baja Blast, and I wonder if there's ever going to be a way to like stitch all of my bev checks together, and it's like the same three drinks. You know, Taco Bell's Baja Blast, Starbucks peppermint mocha, and then like maybe water or something like just all the same thing. You guys always come with something different, and it's like, nope, I've got one of three things as always.
You know what? Our listeners like consistency. That's what they're looking for.
That's fair. Yeah.
Okay. I have got nothing because I was late and I kept you guys waiting.
Wow. Connor.
Well,
you have the tardy juice. That's what you're drinking.
Yeah. Tardy juice. Yep. Why is it a juice?
Yes. So I am drinking a Three Taverns craft beer Prometheus. It is part of their Sour Asylum series. So it is a pomegranate and blueberry sour ale. Ooh. So it has a nice fancy design on the can here too of shapes.
Fancy. And can you see that, listeners?
Yes, all the listeners can see that.
Can you see that can?
But yeah, if they want to see it, they can go to Three Taverns website. They're a local brewery from Decatur, which is a suburb of Atlanta. Actually, we are right. We're in Atlanta proper, but we're right next to Decatur. So, hooray! So,
Luke lives in Atlanta. I'm sure you said it before, but
that is true.
Let's dox him now.
True. But let's go quickly then, and then move on into a new segment. We've done it a few times. We still don't have an official name for it yet, but we'll think of one eventually. But if those who had listened during the Mandalorian episode 1 of season 2 or the week after with Ruby, we had it where myself and Corey both watched or looked at a show, no context, and tried to explain it. So Connor did that with the Mandalorian season 2, episode 8, so the chapter 16, and he's going to be giving some no context impressions of it, and they can try to go over the confusion, and then Johnny and I will actually do a review of the full season. So Connor, why don't you tell us about this episode of The Mandalorian to watch without watching The Mandalorian to begin with?
So I had fun with this episode. It was great that the main character, who I have to assume is Boba Fett's brother, long lost brother, captured. He was able to rescue the scientist from that band of buccaneers who were trying to take him and use his brain for evil. I believe the child was on that ship as well, so they were able to go and capture the buccaneers and kill them and rescue the scientist and the child. So that they were going to go to this giant Imperial ship, and on the giant Imperial ship they had to rescue the child, I believe. So yeah, they go there and they hatch this plan, and they go and they bust down the doors and start blasting. Then they started blasting and punching and kicking the stormtroopers, which you guys might have seen on Facebook. I was just like, why is that effective against stormtrooper armor? But it just goes to show how ridiculously buff they are. So they were able to rescue the child from this other evil scientist dude who had the black lightsaber, which I assume is made out of pure evil. And they had a bunch of robot droids which kind of looked like Zeus from that one robot boxing movie with Hugh Jackman. And they had an army of Zeuses, and they were able to suck them out into space. Major spoilers, by the way. Suck them out into space. Then they came back, but then they were cut down to size by this one special Jedi guy. Should I just say who it is, or should I?
Yeah. We'll just. I'll make sure we put a note that there's spoilers in this too. Just go ahead and say who it is.
Yeah. So this Jedi comes in and just wrecks them, just absolutely destroys them, and lo and behold, it's fucking Luke Skywalker. Holy crap! That was like mind blowing, and I've never even seen this show. And So yeah, they needed to get this lightsaber made out of pure evil back to this one lady who was really, really special. I assume that she's, I don't know, the head of a squadron of the Mandalorian or whatever, or something like that. And the day is saved. They had to give the child to Luke because reasons, obviously. And then we saw the Mandalorian's face for the very fourth time, and that was So then the day is saved, and it was a Christmas miracle.
Yeah. So, judging by some of the other characters you were talking about that you haven't, and things you haven't heard of, I'm going to assume that outside of the movies, you have not consumed much Star Wars content.
Not much, not at all.
Yeah, because there are some characters and things like the black lightsaber, the dark saber, and Bo-Katan. Those are things that do appear in Clone Wars and in the deeper Star Wars lore. But a couple questions for you then. So, do you? So how do you think that Boba and the Mandalorian are connected to those other two female Mandalorians?
Connected in what way?
How do you think they're connected? Do you think that they're related? Do you think that they're just a part of the same group? How much do you basically guess? Tell me what you think you know about this group of people.
The Mandalorian, I assume that it is some sort of army and that they are a specialized group of them, like they're the best of the best, hence the fancy armor, and that they have to I think that they were disbanded or something like that. Their government collapsed or something like that, and then they left some stragglers who are still kind of doing odd jobs here and there.
Yeah, kind of got there. So basically, a good way to think about it with the Mandalorians is it's like how there are Jedi and or in our world there are different religions. The Mandalorians are like is a clan-based group, bonded by a common culture, creed, code. So similar, like it'd be like the Jedis and Mandalorians is like, say, Christianity and Hinduism or any religion, honestly. Like there's no like correlation between it, but the idea that it's like they're a set group of people. So yeah, if you go deep enough in the Star Wars lore, there's stuff about it is told in the Clone Wars too. There was a Mandalorian civil war that caused some unrest. Basically, the planet of Mandalore is cursed, and the Empire took over Mandalore and kind of made it bad and kind of crappy. So now they kind of live in hidings and in tribes, kind of nomadic all around the galaxy. So yeah,
wow. Okay, I didn't realize I had actually gotten I was kind of going in the right direction.
Yeah. So so obviously Boba, as we found out in the prequels, is a unaltered clone of Jango Fett, since Jango was the host that made all the clones for the Clone Wars. And then Bo-Katan and I forget the other lady's name are Mandalorians, and then the Mandalorian Din, he is also part of it as well. And so actually one of the things, so a big reason why he doesn't take his helmet off very often is he is part of a set group of a more extremist group of the Mandalorians, or more traditional group where like they don't believe in taking off their helmets in front of other people. So it'd be like, I'm not going too deep in religion talk, but it'd be just different forms of Christianity that have their own set of rules that are different from one another. So it's just like that. But yeah, not bad. So with you not watching any of the previous 15 episodes, not being too much into the deeper Star Wars universe outside of the movies and some occasional things here and there, how would you say this episode was going in completely blind? Like if you were doing a blast up or blow up, basically, not it's not a blast up or blow up, but like in a similar way, like would you recommend this to someone? Obviously, maybe watching the episode leading up to it, but
I would absolutely recommend it to someone who's interested in Star Wars, because even you don't have to be actively watching it to know its reputation, that it's some of the best Star Wars content since the original trilogy. That's what everyone is saying. And I'm not even the biggest Star Wars guy, and I would absolutely watch this because that episode was a blast. And unfortunately, it just wasn't all that meaningful to me because I didn't know all the buildup behind it. But everyone and their mother says that this was a fantastic episode, and like people were crying and stuff like that, because I get how big of a deal it is that the child is now, like, he's being taken away, and he and the main character guy, I don't even know his name, had built up a relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, it's been great. And so actually that can move us on into a blast up or blow up where Johnny and I can give our full season review of season 2. So we did do a episode 1 review and now, one as a whole. So let's not get too much into, I mean, I know we basically spoiled the last episode, but let's not get too much into the spoilers in case Connor does decide to go back and watch the other 7 episodes of season 2 and the 8 episodes of season 1. But I really liked this season. Like almost everyone else is saying, I think that this is some of the best. I think this is the best thing that Disney's done with Star Wars, and I am kind of on more of the hot take where I actually like enjoy most of the stuff Disney's done. I think episode 7 solid. I like episode 8 a lot. I have my problems with 9, but and then Rogue One and Solo I enjoy. Rogue One's my favorite Star Wars movie. So like Disney's done. You know, there are people that'll definitely disagree with me, but I think Disney has done a solid job with having the Star Wars franchise. You know, they maybe could have planned out the sequel trilogy a little better, but I mean, oh well. But yeah, this is by far some of the best stuff because it's doing a good way of expanding the Star Wars lore, and it's been great because it's not just all about Jedi. Like obviously, like with the child, and then with Luke in this episode, with Ahsoka and a couple of like in the middle of the season, we do see Jedis being brought up and stuff like that. But the nice thing about this is, same thing with Rogue One, is that the main focus of the show isn't on the Skywalker clan and their close knit crew. Like it's different. Like this is a big galaxy and there's other things going on, and this is doing a lot of ways to tie in all 3 trilogies together and giving us a lot more Star Wars stuff, and I love it. So I think that this has been a great season. Johnny, since you also, like Connor, are not as big of a Star Wars person, what did you think of the season as a whole?
I thought it was really good. Like you said, I'm not a huge Star Wars fan. So a lot of the stuff that they talk about and the references and the characters pretty much all go over my head. I did understand the importance of Ahsoka. I never watched the Clone Wars, was it? That she was from?
Yes. Yeah. And she does show up in Rebels too for a bit, but yeah, Clone Wars is where she's like, she is essentially the main character in Clone Wars.
Yeah, I never watched it, but I did know that she was from that, so I was very excited to see her, because Rosario Dawson was in, I mean, all the Netflix Marvel shows, and so I know the actress from that, and so to see her again in a very iconic role like Ahsoka is really cool, and I really love that episode. That might have actually been my favorite episode of the season. And it wasn't just her, but a lot of people talked online about, you know, a lot of other characters and references that were dropped this season, and are definitely going to either make an impact in the Mandalorian season 3 and onward, or are going to get their own shows that they can make their impact there. And this, I would have never expected back last year when the first season premiered. I would have never expected that this is the launching off point for the future of what Star Wars is really going to be for the next, you know, possibly like 10 years or longer. But it really is. This is the closest thing I can equate to the Mandalorian for what it's doing for so many different like branching off is it reminds me of Arrow from the CW. The Arrow show, I mean, it spun off like 5 or 6 different shows in a whole universe, and the Mandalorian is doing the same exact thing. It's such a big world, and there's so much here that they're going to explore. And I'm not going to go back. I'm probably not going to watch the Clone Wars. I might not go back and watch it all, but I definitely am going to keep up to date with all of the Disney Plus originals that they're going to make in the future, because with Star Wars, because this is I'm not as deep into it as you are, Luke, but from what I've seen, I'm impressed, and I think that they've done a really good job with this entire season, and just making a story for this show, but also at the same time building a world around it. So yeah, I definitely think that this was a very, very good season, and not often is a season 2 better than a season 1, but this I think it is. I think this season 2 is much better than the first season.
Yeah, I agree, especially because like probably the second episode with the frog lady and the horrible spider alien things that are nightmare fuel. Besides that, like that might have been the weakest episode, but that was still better than the Tatooine episode in season 1 with, I can't remember the guy's name, who was that young bounty. Like that episode like sucks. Like the only good thing that episode did is that gave us the first tease of Boba and the lady whose name I'm forgetting that teams up with Boba and then has been in the last few episodes. But yeah, like you mentioned, there's a bunch of characters, not getting too much in some of the ones that were mentioned, but like there's a big name villain that Ahsoka name drops in her episode in episode 5 that is probably the most prevalent non-film character, a part of the old extended universe that then they brought in to the new canon in Rebels. I'll say General Thrawn, Grand Admiral Thrawn. I mean, he is probably the most important non-film Star Wars character that has probably ever existed, and so like bringing him in and name dropping him in this to connect it with Rebels, to know that we might be seeing him in the Ahsoka spinoff or some of these other different shows are coming. The nice thing is it seems like Favreau and Filoni and Disney actually have plans for things, because that like I briefly mentioned, that's my biggest gripe I've had with the sequel trilogy is, as great as some of the moments were in all 3 movies, you can tell that they really didn't have much of a idea outside of the fact that each episode was before Carrie Fisher died, was going to focus on one of the old cast. Episode 7 was going to be Han, episode 8 was going to be Luke, and 9 was supposed to be Leia. But besides that, they really didn't have a plan with how things went, because you watch episode 9 and all the things they do to try to, with Palpatine and Rey's lineage and all this, we're just like, this all feels forced. So the fact that they actually had a bunch of planning for this, yeah, the Ahsoka episode might be my favorite as well, but I don't know. That first episode we see Boba is amazing too, and this last one was really good too. It's a lot harder for me to pick the best episode this season, but it was great. So this is by far a blast off for me. I mean, I'm a big Star Wars fan, and even though I haven't watched all of Clone Wars or Rebels, like I love like what has happened in the canon expanded universe over the past decade or so. So I'm glad to see that it looks like it's in good hands moving forward. So what about you, Johnny?
Like I said, my favorite episode is probably the one with Ahsoka. And my least favorite episode, I think that the season got better as it went along. Like the back half of the season is better than the first half. So, and I like the premiere episode as well. So I would say like episode 2, 3, or 4 from this season, which would be chapters 10, 11, or 12. One of those 3, while they're all very, very good, one of those might be on the weaker side. But I thought that the whole season, like the season as a whole, is just a really good television. So yeah, I would also give it a blast off.
Yeah, because episode 10 would be the passenger. So that would be the one where we have the frog lady. 11 is the one where he teams up with the other Mandalorians, and then 12 is the siege. That's the one where he goes back to the planet from the first season. I can't remember the planet right now, but that's the one where Carl Weathers is back, and they go and they siege that base, and that's where it sets up even more stuff that really got the season going. Yeah, because it was those first few episodes, it was like half season building, lore building, half problem of the week episode. So and then it got more of a doing the problem of the week that set up what's going to happen at the end of the season with these last few episodes. So yeah, I'm great with that. And we also have another quick blast off or blow up with Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, since that did just come out about a month ago. So let's go on and do a quick review of that. How are you guys feeling with that so far?
I've talked about how excited I was about it before, and I finally got to get my hands on it and play it, and it is it is everything I thought it was going to be, and even more. I don't want to give spoilers, but I will say that Connor and I plan to have a mini episode coming up soon that will go. It'll be spoiler heavy, and we can go into more in depth topics regarding everything. But there was definitely this game was so much more than I expected it to be. I thought it was going to be a simple prequel, and there was a lot of elements that really shook up. I'm not going to give anything away, but it shook up it shook up expectations, I guess I should say, from the very least. From what people thought it was going to be in the initial trailer, this is it is a war in like 100 years prior, but there's elements to it that happen in the story later on that definitely shake up what people would have expected to happen. And I loved every minute of it. Connor, what do you think?
I had a blast with it. I think I told you the other day that we were having our Gabe episode, and I really didn't like the demo for it because Breath of the Wild is the first Zelda game I've ever actually completed, and I just loved it so much, and I tried to keep my expectations low for it, but I couldn't, and I didn't like the demo, and so I rated it pretty low. But then actually playing the entire game made me change my opinion on it. I think it's not even trying to be anything like Breath of the Wild. It's just in the same story. And so now that I've actually adjusted my brain for that, I actually had a blast with it. It's a hack and slash, but it involves Legend of Zelda characters. And since I got to play as all the heroes, that just made it even better. There's so many playable characters that you never would have expected. And especially playing with someone else, getting to play with you, Johnny, was, I think, only added to the experience. And so I say, if you have the opportunity to play this game, take it. You're going to have a great time with it.
Yeah. A lot of, your opinion is not, you're not the only one who shares that, who feels that way, because apparently a lot of people online think that despite this being a new game for players like yourself who may, whether they have experience in Zelda or just Breath of the Wild, going into a Hyrule Warriors or a Warriors title at all is something that's kind of out of left field. So it makes sense that Nintendo would want to have a demo out, so a free demo for people to want to try it and see if they like it, step out of their comfort zone a little. But people think that because of the lack of content in the demo compared to what the full game is, a lot of people think that it actually hurt them by having the demo because it was not a true representation of what the game is. Because a lot of people that want to go into it, they're not looking to play as Link or Zelda or Impa. They're looking to play as, the champions, or potentially some characters that also may be in Breath of the Wild that are, that are in this game. And I'm not going to spoil who else is playable, but the champions are some of the good ones that people look to play, and they weren't available there. So, it's actually pretty common for a lot of people have been saying that the demo could have hurt Nintendo, but it's good that you gave it a chance. You gave the full game a chance, and I'm glad you really liked it because this game is canon, and Nintendo's officially said that this game's story is canon, which means that there's a lot with the timeline. There's a lot that could be wonky that going forward to see what's going to happen exactly because of this game. So I'm excited to see where they go with this. I'm excited obviously it makes me 10 times more excited about Breath of the Wild 2, as I'm sure it does you as well. And yeah, I'd say it was a really good game.
Definite blast off for me. This is, I'm not going to be able to say anything new that Johnny hasn't already said, but yeah, give it a chance if you didn't really like the demo. It's way better, but that's why we're here. We're here to tell you guys how the game is. And yeah, if you run into this game, definitely buy it, and you're going to have a good time.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Also a blast off for me.
Awesome. So then we can now move on into the topic of the week. And so, as I mentioned at the start, it is all about Connor this week. So by the time this episode airs, it will be right around the same time of Connor's birthday. So we wanted to do the same thing like we did around my birthday, Johnny's, and Corey's. And so, Connor, this episode is going to be all about you, your nerd background. And what's fun about this is this is the fourth time we've done this, and this is going to be different episode from the other three because all of us that we've done it on have completely different nerd backgrounds. So it's always fun to do this. So Connor, the first question for you then is, what is the first nerdy thing that you got into?
This is gonna, like, I think we've said this on Nerdmageddon quite a bit. We may have said it here, but sports are nerdy. And it's, especially if you're into stats and stuff like that, that's about as nerdy as can be. The very first nerdy thing I got into was collecting baseball cards as a kid. And I have them, they're at home in Omaha with my parents. I have probably about 3,500 of them.
Wow.
Yeah, Tyler wanted to give them away at he wanted to sell them at a garage sale we had this past summer, and I told him absolutely not. There are some cards there that these guys are going to be retiring soon. Please just hold on a little bit longer. And we've got some really good baseball cards. I mean, I've got a rookie Derek Jeter card, and they're going to be worth some money today. So right now I'm rich, but I have to sell them first.
Yeah. You're sitting on gold. You just can't.
I'm sitting on gold.
How old were you when you started to get into baseball cards then?
Oh, I my entire life. I actually started realizing the fun of it and really like taking in the information when I was about 9 or 10. And the last time I bought baseball cards was probably August or September. I bought a pack of 100 of them.
Wow.
Okay. What about who got you into that then too? Was it your dad? Was it a relative?
Yeah.
Or
it was my dad. Yeah. And I think you guys know he's a really big baseball dude. He's the one who got me into the sport, and he's got a few of them that are really, really near and dear to him. He's been collecting them since the 60s, and he's got some like really great baseball cards. I think he has a Willie Mays, something that actually, if he sold, he could make some money off of it from the right buyer. And he and his cousin were just giving away thousands of them when I was in the 5th grade. And so there was a bunch of kids at my school that were like, hey, well, we'd like them. So there was a mad dash to this box of probably 2,000 baseball cards. And me and my brother just went in and grabbed as many as we possibly could, even really like crappy players too.
That reminds me of the SpongeBob episode. You said you were sitting on gold, and they had so many cards. It's like, we tried burying it, we tried burning it, but in the end, we just decided to give it all away. And so, like, that sounds what your dad is like.
Yeah, he's having an aneurysm because of it.
Yeah, that's funny though.
It is.
So, is there anything else related to baseball that you like do, or like, I know that there's fantasy football, but is there anything like nerdy about baseball that you like to follow, like stats or anything like that?
I just, when I'm watching it, you can have a stat book and you can say it was a fly out to center or something like that for 9 innings. I can't do that. I try doing it, and I have a good time while I'm doing it, but I would really just rather enjoy the game and conversation with my friends while I'm watching it. I play fantasy baseball for 4 years now, and I watch the game, but like stats, I'm not that deep into it. My dad is the biggest baseball nerd I'll ever know, but I think that's about the nerdiest thing I do with the sport is I play fantasy baseball. But it's really tough because football is once a week and you have plenty of time for preparation, but baseball is every single day, so you have to check your stats like twice a day, or check your team twice a day.
Yeah, that's definitely one with baseball and with basketball. When you're doing fantasy, it is a lot harder to keep up with than football. Yeah, because you have primarily one day, and then you have to worry about Thursday and Monday, but it's mainly Sunday with pro football. But so you're into baseball and stuff like that. But what would you say is your like strongest nerdy topic? Like me with Sonic, Johnny with stuff like banjo. Like, what's your Sonic, banjo, stuff like that?
I was dreading this question because I had to really, really sit down and think about that. I don't think I could call myself an expert, quote unquote, on anything, because everyone and their mother like would like tear me a new one if I started writing articles about such and such topic, like a Hulk or something like that. They'd be like, actually, the Incredible Hulk number 66, they said this, so that automatically discredits what you said. I don't do stuff like that. I would say if I had to go, like, what am I strongest in, where I'm genuinely teaching people new things, showing new information to a conversation, I would probably be Bob Dylan. And that's just because you can't take anything he says literally, because everything he says could be a complete lie, it could be a complete fabrication or an exaggeration just to add to his image, because Bob Dylan's image is not who he actually is. The Rolling Thunder review that just came out was a movie about him, a documentary. A lot of things were BS because it's just what he has said, but because it can still help the flow of the story, they just go with it. So if I had to choose one, it would be Bob Dylan.
Okay. And keep in mind, I want to ask a follow-up question, like with what Luke said, answer that again if there's anything else in addition to Bob Dylan, but don't worry about if you think that you know enough, or what other people think if you know enough. It should be about what you like, what you know more than the average person, not so much if you don't have to know every little nitty-gritty detail because of some, fanboy 678 is going to tell you that you're wrong about issue, 3954. Like it's what do you like? What do you like to read, listen to, watch, play?
That's a very fair point. And if we are going on just that I know more than the average person, I think I could confidently say 3 subjects: Bob Dylan, The Incredible Hulk, and baseball.
Okay. That's
nice.
Connor in a nutshell. Bob Dylan, Incredible Hulk, baseball.
I mean, yeah, basically. So yeah, there are things that you like, and then I know especially with Nerdmageddon, with this show, with just like knowing me, people like me, Johnny, Blake, and many others, you've been able to get into more nerdy things. But what's something that is a nerdy subculture that you've always wanted to get into but never could? And if you can think of maybe why you think you weren't able to get into it, like what is that, and maybe why is that?
There's so much that you guys have shown me that this particular question you ask me, I could do a mini on. I could give you a half hour of content just on things I've always wanted to get into and why I didn't. And you guys could too. Perhaps we should consider that. The number one thing I want to get into more are classic Nintendo games that I've never experienced. And because I have Nintendo Online, thanks to Johnny showing me that I can play more of those games, like Donkey Kong Country. I can play some of the classic Mario titles, although there's just too much to go into that I won't, for the sake of time, I'm not going to list them off. Other things I would really, really, really like to get into, classic novels that I have Treasure Island on my shelf right now, and I'm actually getting ready to read that because I'm finishing up another one I have. I've got like the Iliad. I've got Homer, just like not the complete works of Homer. I got some of Homer's stuff here, and I just want to become more of a reader. And in college, I forced myself to read a couple of books, one of them including Ready Player One, because I think it would help my attention span. It would give me more nerd cred. Those are things I want to get into. And then also, anything that you guys show me is pretty much up for grabs. Like I want to connect with Luke on certain things, and like a lot of the music you've shown me has just been mind blowing. The album, remind me the album we just listened to because of your recommendations. Yeah, that was fantastic. I really liked that. And if I can connect with you more on music, that kind of music, I would absolutely do that. Johnny, with other Nintendo titles, like such as Donkey Kong Country, as I said, if I can connect to him more on that, anything that you guys show me on this podcast is just like, it really expands my knowledge and it introduces me to new things that I want to get into.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you mentioned one of your biggest strengths, it would be Hulk. And so, Hulk on the big screen has definitely struggled for a lot of the bigger name comic book characters. We've seen Batman struggle as well. We've seen Fantastic Four, but Hulk is another one that struggled. We haven't had a standalone Hulk movie since the Edward Norton film in 2008 that is, part of the MCU that then Mark Ruffalo replaced Edward Norton as Bruce Banner / the Hulk. But so how would you then make a new Hulk movie or a new Hulk comic book, or just if you were like to make a new Hulk release, whether it's a movie, comic book series, TV show, video game, just obviously you don't have to get too much into the nitty gritty because you're not a film producer or a game developer. But what would that be, and how would it be set up?
The thing that's fantastic about Captain America is because he's a super soldier, so he's got superhuman strength and speed. He's basically maxed out all his human levels, so it's still not like he's not chucking cars into tanks and stuff like that. But that's like that feat of strength and speed is already fantastic. But add on that he does missions for the government and stuff like that, like Winter Soldier. You get the best of both worlds like that. That's what makes Captain America so easily digestible, is because his fantastic story can come at different angles like that. The Incredible Hulk is tough to translate on screen because his the powers only comes when he's angry and he's threatened, or I guess now with the movies, his heartbeat gets up above a certain beats per minute, and that can be tough to translate on screen. It can be tough to make it happen all the time because then you have to introduce new threats here and there. But now that he's able to control it, I think that opens up the floodgates. I would have something where he's a scientist first, and then that gets him into different trouble, like with the government, and then he can use his strength, his powers at will. So kind of like what Matt Reeves is doing with the Batman. They're going to go for a more detective-based movie this time. And it's like, wow. I guess we can't really say that a lot of these movies have been very detective-heavy, detectiving skills heavy, because that's not what a lot of people want. They just want gritty action. So I think if we can somehow translate the science behind what he's doing, his gamma radiation, I think that could actually be a different, very entertaining angle to go at.
So a lot of people, when they have something that they really click to, they find some sort of comparison of who they are or who they want to be compared to this person. Is that the case with you and Bruce Banner / the Hulk? Is there an element of him or them that you either see yourself as or see yourself who you want to be in Bruce Banner and the Hulk?
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, if I could have his super strength and control that at will, where I'm just regular Connor when I want to be, and punching a wall would break my hand, that would be great, and then I can just go to that Hulk strength whenever I want. That would be awesome. But I don't know if I go at that angle, because the reason I connect with them, the reason I get interested, is because I'm absolutely nothing like them. Okay. If I wanted to strive for a person that I want to be most like, I guess I would go the bravery and loyalty of Captain America. That's pretty appealing, and that's what I would like to strive for. Because the willingness to jump on a grenade for his fellow soldiers, who wouldn't want a friend like that? But I think mostly it's that. I'm interested because he's so far removed from who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then another one I got for you is, what do you think is the hardest nerd culture that you've had to get into? Like what's been because you mentioned Hulk, and I know comic books is one, but is that one, or is there a different thing that you would say has been a very hard culture to get into? Whether that's just because it's a hard subject to grasp, or in the case of Star Wars, their fan base is complete dog shit, or like what is a hard nerd culture for you to get into?
Everyone has their gatekeepers. Everyone has their cesspool for any kind of fan base. I mean, not just Star Wars, although that's an easy one to throw out. I think anytime you want to get into comic books of any subject, it just goes so deep. And the writing, you can do anything. Like Superman in the comic books I'm not joking, has sneezed away solar systems. It was so bullshit. And Stan Lee even said, when it comes to the Hulk, who's stronger, Superman or Hulk? And he said, whoever is writing the current story that is exactly as strong as the Hulk is. So if it's coming from a person who's writing for Marvel, they can make Hulk as strong or as weak as they want. If it's coming from DC, same thing. I would say there is no one person or one title. There's no one media that's the hardest to get into because it can go so deep. But I think the comic books probably are where it's the toughest because they go so far back, and that's the first kind of entertainment media to embrace that type of culture.
And with comic books, you just run into the essence that they've been going on for so long, and there's so many versions of it. Like it's why people always make the joke that the X-Men film series is actually the best representation of comic books because it's such a convoluted mess, like the comic books are. Because like the movies have a bunch of plot holes with each other and continuity errors and all that, and it's the same with comic books where because of the different writers and the different storylines and the multiverse stuff, like everything that's gone on in comic books is so confusing that you don't. I mean, it's in comic books the old Archie Sonic comic book was just a mess before before it ended with everything, and like just because of the different writers they had on it and the lack of Sega really doing anything about it. Like there's a lot of stuff like that, so that's not surprising.
If I were to throw out two titles that are too big, that I've always wanted to really, really get into, just dive in, but are just a little bit too big, and I'm just like, you know what, I'm never going to be more than a surface level fan. I'm going to go to the movies and I'm going to enjoy them. X-Men and Star Wars. Those are two that I've always just wanted to, okay, you know what? I'm going to go buy the complete series of this, and that. I'm going to go get these comic books that are essential for X-Men readers. And I'm just like, nope, too big. I open that door and it's just massive. It's this huge, this galaxy of information. And with the introducing the novels side of it for like Star Wars, introducing the novels, that is just so much information to take in. I don't know if you read a lot of the Star Wars novels, but I'm sure you can attest. Like, yeah, it goes deep.
Yeah, I read a few, but yeah, especially the now Legends, the old non-canon stuff, all the stuff basically outside of everything that is outside of the movies, the CGI Clone Wars show, Rebels, and then any Star Wars thing released after 2012 is the current canon. Not counting the Old Republic MMORPG expansions. That's still the old canon, but everything else, like so Jedi Fallen Order, the video game, Rebels, Clone Wars, Mandalorian, 7, 8, 9, any book that's come out in the last 5-6 years, those are the current canon. But yeah, if you go dig deep, there's so much crazy stuff that goes on with stuff like they're pulling things like I mentioned with our Blast for Blow Up characters like Thrawn, Boba Fett coming back, episode 9 with the Emperor coming back. That's a thing that happens in the expanded universe, but yeah, it's such a just mess in the non-canon timeline with everything now, and it's hard to jump into it. It's luckily it's a little easier with the current official canon, but it's still a huge mess.
Yes, Connor, I think I told you. What's up?
Oh, so I don't have a question, but I do have a suggestion. So the New Year is coming up, and I don't know if you've got a new New Year's resolution, but one I would recommend you work towards is let yourself enjoy things. Don't worry about how deep, Star Wars lore goes or a video game series might be, and don't worry about if somebody online would say you've only played Breath of the Wild, you're not a Zelda fan. You've only read 25 comics of Hulk, you're not a Hulk fan. Don't worry about that, because if you do, there is no way you could ever be a fan in the eyes of people who you're judging your fanness on. Just let yourself enjoy things. If you're only a fan if you call yourself that, and if there's something you want to do, if you want to dip your toes into a new thing, do it. If you want to see if maybe Mandalorian is for you, even though you know nothing about the books or anything like that, that's exactly where I'm at. So yeah, just let yourself enjoy things.
But have you gotten all 180 emblems on Sonic Adventure 2? No, you're not a true Sonic Adventure 2 fan.
I have.
So.
But have you gotten all 900 Koroxes in Breath of the Wild? Then no, you're not a true Breath of the Wild fan.
I'm very close. I have so many freaking Koroxes. I don't have the exact number, but I'm actually getting pretty close to 900.
Oh, really?
You bring up a really, really good point. And that's one thing that I hesitate on. And it's something I've been working on since Nerdmageddon, and I have only made small baby steps of improvement. I'm nowhere near the improvement I should be at, is because I'm on this show, and I was brought on as not a nerd because of Joel just wanting to hang out with me more. And now I get a little self-conscious that I don't know enough. And every time I open my mouth to speak on an experience, I feel this like, oh no, Connor, you don't know enough to say this. You haven't read this book, so maybe what your view on this other book isn't as expansive as it could be. So are you actually bringing new information to the table? No. Sit down, shut up.
Well, I mean, think about it too. Johnny didn't get into like comic book stuff really until the last 2000 when it was Injustice that really got you into the comic books, right, Johnny?
Yeah, I never read comic books, but yeah, Injustice got me into superheroes.
So it's like Johnny wasn't into superheroes outside of like everyone saw, The Dark Knight. But
I didn't even.
So like Johnny just got into a lot of some of his big nerdy stuff, 6-7 years ago. Yeah. So like if he can do that, then I get into new stuff every day as well. It's one of those that I'm a big Star Wars fan. I have not watched all of Clone Wars. I have not watched Rebels. I know some of the big arcs that happen. Like obviously I know like how the Clone Wars ends because I've watched the prequel trilogy. But like Mandalorian is the first Star Wars show that I am completely caught up with and stuff like that. And so it's like, and
if you think about it, like Mandalorian is very accessible. All three of us have Disney Plus, and Luke is a major Star Wars fan. I know very little, and Connor, I feel like you are somewhere in the middle. At least you know slightly more than me, outside of Mandalorian, obviously. Watching all these episodes as they come out, every single person, the three of us for sure, but then also people online, we're all at the same. We're on level playing field when it comes to just Mandalorian, because everyone was shocked when Luke Skywalker showed up. But it was, nobody knew that was going to happen. Nobody knew for sure, but we can all be on a level playing field with this. And if someone wants to tell you that you're not a real Star Wars fan for whatever reason, like they don't get to decide that. You do. So
that's completely fair. That is fair. And I'm still going to need to work on that, but hopefully I get, hopefully that improvement comes. And I'm definitely going to have, especially since you guys are saying that, oh, you guys are aware that there's other people that are just, way too deep into it. I think that gives me a little bit more, it puts me at ease more to be able to contribute what I do contribute.
Well, also don't listen to people, because there are dumb people out there. Like one of my favorites is going back to The Mandalorian again. This is the Connor / Mandalorian episode. But when Ahsoka showed up on The Mandalorian, well, everyone was praising the performance of it, because she's such an important. She is like I mentioned, how Thrawn is probably the most important of the Legends characters. Ahsoka is one of the most important non-film canon Star Wars characters. Like she is, I guess technically there's the Clone Wars CGI cartoon film, but like Ahsoka is so important to the Star Wars story, and having her there. And I remember there was like people on Twitter was like, oh, Ahsoka had the redemption arc that, everyone thought Jar Jar Binks was going to have. It's like, no, because no one hated Ahsoka outside of the mouth-breathing Star Wars fans that can't deal with a woman character. Like, Ahsoka was always a good character in Clone Wars and in Rebels, and now in The Mandalorian, and then her spin-off show. It's one of those where she was never a bad character. People just don't like strong woman character because the Star Wars fans are a cesspool. But, like... And so you have people that'll say stuff like that, or you're not a true fan. And we mentioned it.
If whatever people would say against you, Connor, for not being a true fan, could say exactly the same for Luke, who is a bigger fan than either of us. Luke has not done or read everything like you said. So it's like, you have to start somewhere. And if you're going to listen to the people who only who gatekeep and say that if you've done all of these things, checked all of these boxes, then you're a true fan. It's like the only people who are going to listen to them are themselves, because like they're the only ones who can reach their own, expectations.
Yeah, it was like going to sports too. You're a big baseball fan, but like how much do you know about like WAR and some of the super nerdy stat stuff? Like I love football, and when stuff talks about like expected play rate and other like random stats like that, like I'll look at a chart and I'll see, when Dalvin Cook runs the ball, the Vikings offense are like top of this graph. Like cool, like I don't know what that
Connor,
means. I just know they're good.
Yeah, exactly.
You're a baseball fan. Well, who's the fastest runner in Super Mario Baseball? Tell me that, baseball fan.
That is clearly Dr. Eggman.
Yes.
No idea.
Dante from Devil May Cry.
Yes,
But yeah, I mean,
exactly.
so like, I've mentioned that in one of our previous episode too. Yeah, just the whole thing about gatekeeping is just dumb. And like, if you want to like your things, like you can like your things, and sure, like if there's things you're like wrong about, then like friends can help you. That's not fully true, but it doesn't mean that you have to dislike something then because of it. But yeah, not just for Connor, but anyone who's listening, just don't gatekeep. Just let people enjoy things. Like
you're the only one who gets to decide if you're a fan of it or not. You're the only one who gets to decide if you enjoy something.
Yeah, because it's like it's the same. Like I brought up too. Like I feel bad for people like my girlfriend who loves football, and people are like, oh well, name this random obscure stat that like Connor wouldn't even know. Connor's like a football fan, like it's like if someone wants to enjoy football, like obviously, if you're more of a casual fan, don't act like you're a big fan, but like that goes in anything too. Like I know some stuff in politics, but I'm not a politic expert, so I'm not going to go say that I know, anything that's going on about like this election that is like more than like base level stuff. So like but just don't gatekeep, please.
Yeah, you're allowed to like things like Luke said, don't pretend to know more than you do, but also don't be afraid to don't be afraid to engage with more than you have. So
and it is sad that like I could think that like, oh, I like I don't like Star Wars that much because this person has read all these books and watched these shows, and it is sad that we do get to that point. But like if you dip into media of any kind for any title, like you do get those really, really like basement dwelling ultra nerd people that nobody could they have the information that nobody could possibly obtain.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like we see there's I want to say it was Natalie Portman who was Padme. There's a picture of her wearing a Star Wars, like a like political shirt that like is like a Star Wars-y type of thing, and someone was like, I bet she doesn't even know what Star Wars is, and it's like, homie, she's literally like one of the main characters of the prequel trilogy, and you're saying this.
She's one of 3 women in the universe, so
that's true too. She is one of the most like. She's one of the few women that actually like speaks in this universe, but yeah, go ahead and just ignore her. But yeah, Star Wars fans are just stupid. I love Star Wars, but their fan base is dumb. But kind of getting back on track more with your stuff, Connor, too. You've mentioned that because of us, you've been able to grow in things with stuff, and there's too many to list, I'm sure. But what are kind of some of your big games and TV shows, movies, books that are on the top of your bucket list that you're planning on hitting when you're done with games like Age of Calamity or stuff like that? Like, what are some of the big ones that you are trying to make sure you get off your bucket list in the next couple of years?
Oh man, this is going to be, I love gushing about this because it's like, oh man, I can't wait to get into this. The BioShock series is something I want to get. I need to cross off my bucket list. I've got them on both Switch and Xbox, but I had it on Xbox One, and Tyler took the Xbox One back. I want to play The Last of Us. That's gonna be interesting how I somehow do that. The as far as movies go, there are just these classics I haven't seen. Like I've never seen The Godfather. I've never seen any of them. I feel bad for like calling myself a nerd, and I haven't even seen that because it's like, oh, you gotta see all of these movies. I am doing it again. I need to shut the fuck up about that. Books, I've got Treasure Island is my number one go-to right now. I really need to get into that. I don't even know I don't even know where to begin with this. There's so many that I need to see. There's a bunch of classics, just all the classic stuff that you'd find on like on VHS shelves everywhere. Streetcar Named Desire, the entirety of American Pie. I've only seen the first one. I need to see the entirety of it. Yeah, those. I'll just start off with that list. There's too many to go into.
Yeah, I mean, it is a rabbit hole to go down to, because same thing with me with video games. Like, there's so many, because, you know, before I was working, I would only get a couple games a year, and like one of my main ones was Call of Duty. So there's like so many games in the early 2010s that I just missed out on because I was only getting Call of Duty or Sonic or the other occasional games. So there's definitely a lot out there, and you know, if there's things you're into, it's a never ending thing. Like, you know, I'm trying to figure out, you know, just with finances, budgeting out. You
said that you wanted to get an Xbox, potentially a Series S or something, just anything so you can dip your toes into Xbox titles. Where are you on Halo? Would you go down that rabbit hole? I
mean, I would play it, but the little bit I've played it, it's one of those that I you know, there's so many things with like I'm used to with Call of Duty that jumping into a shooter that's not Call of Duty is hard to adjust to, because even though now more shooters have copied it, like the newer Halos are closer to Call of Duty with some of its mechanics, that's just kind of hard. You know, I would definitely play through them, but I don't know how like long term how like into it I'd get. You know, maybe I could be wrong, and then, you know, I get super deep into it. But yeah, I mean, that definitely has been one that's been on my bucket list if I ever get an Xbox, just because, you know, especially how the Master Chief Collection has kind of turned into a like one of the best like value packages of like great games that you can get now, because they've fixed its rough launch and have added so much to it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's an easy rabbit hole to go down to, where, you know, if you got a PlayStation, all these PlayStation games you could get caught up on, like God of War and The Last of Us and Horizon Zero Dawn and stuff like that, where it's so easy to get overwhelmed with just how much there are. Like like Johnny, I hope that you budget when you do get a PS5 for some of the things, because there's just so many good games out there that are the PlayStation family that you have missed out on by only really primarily playing on Nintendo for the past, you know, decade or so. So definitely be careful with that, because it can easily get very, very expensive. You know, that's been a while.
Yeah, for a while I was saving up for a PS5, and then I realized I haven't bought it yet, but I realized, you know, a month or two ago, I was like, you know, I shouldn't just be budgeting for PS5. I need to be budgeting for the games that I'm going to get along with it, because, like,
exactly.
You know, I'm going to spend more on games than I am the system. Like, not
be careful
all at once,
the digital
downloads
too, because there's just like, it's so easy, it's so convenient. Be like, I've got $30 for this really old title, and then it's like, oh my gosh, $90 later, it's like, oh, I have so many titles to enjoy.
Yeah, where did my money go?
Yeah, there's so many. It's one of those that, like, I've been thinking of, we're looking ahead at 2021 games, which teaser for next week's episode, but like looking ahead at some of these releases coming out next year, it's like there's these games I want, but then there's a couple from my backlog that I haven't gotten, like Ghost of Tsushima, Spider-Man, Miles Morales, games that I want to get from this past year that I want to get caught up on. And so it's one of those, it's like, oh, well, I want to get, Mario 3D World, and I want to get Gran Turismo 7 and Deathloop and the 30th anniversary Sonic titles coming. But then it's like, I also want to get these games from the years past that I'm behind on still. So it's that hard figuring out, which ones do I want more? Which ones can I wait until Christmas or my birthday or a sale, Black Friday? So it's a hard thing, because it's an easy thing to get sucked into. I know you primarily play on Xbox, but you've been doing some stuff on PC. Be careful with Steam. That's an easy way to blow a lot of money too, with Steam sale.
Oh my Lord, yes. Yeah, I've got Game Pass Ultimate, and since they have a library, it's over 100 games, and they're just going to be adding all these titles day one to it. I'm just like, how am I supposed to have money? Like, they're doing this on purpose, aren't they?
Oh yeah, because they're doing it so that way you like it, and you want to go buy it. Yeah, it's amazing.
Mm-hmm. It's the best deal in gaming right now, and I wonder if PlayStation Plus is going to do something along with that, because they know the convenience factor of the gaming as a service is going to pay off in the long run, although immediately it's not profitable. I wonder if they'll do something like that.
Mm-hmm. I got one more for you, and then if Johnny has any more, we can do that too. But the last one I had is kind of going back to stuff that's been hard to get into. What was actually a kind of a nerdy thing that you thought was going to be hard to get into, but once you started consuming it, like an anime or something like that, is there anything that you thought, oh, this is going to be so tough, and then once you consumed it, you got hooked, and it actually was not as hard to get into as you expected?
Anime, absolutely. It was. I didn't understand it as a kid. I didn't like that their words didn't match their voices, and I was like, our TV's doing this again, or something like that. And then I realized, no, it's like Japanese made, and the dubs aren't always perfect. The comedy is kind of really out there. As soon as so I stopped watching it entirely. I just did not watch any of it, didn't get into Pokemon, didn't get into Yu-Gi-Oh!, any of that stuff as a kid. But then growing up, more and more people were telling me about these great shows that are really like well made, and they're genuinely funny, and they're not too out there that you don't understand what's going on. The Dragon Ball Z and Naruto. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll look into it a little bit as a preteen. And I watched a little bit of it, and I thought, wow, this is dramatic. Wow, this is tension building. So much tension building. Several episodes long of tension building. And then Johnny had introduced me to the Game Grumps, and they were recommending all sorts of anime. I was like, okay, I'll check it out in college. And I was like, well, let's see where this is going. And a lot of these things on Crunchyroll and Studio Ghibli are genuinely amazing films, great series, and I think there are still some titles that are really tough to get into. That there's still some really out there anime. Thank you, Corey, for showing us some of the weirdest stuff we've ever seen, and I think I do want to dip into more of it. In fact, I was actually watching a Studio Ghibli film last night called Tales from Earthsea or something like that. I very highly recommend it. And
was that one that Gabe mentioned?
I think so. One of them. There was a couple of them on the main page of HBO Max for Studio Ghibli. And I was just like, you know what? I haven't watched an anime in a while, and they make great stuff. So I did it, and man, I'm gonna be completely hooked. Because now that I have HBO Max and you guys have it too, like you've got all of Crunchyroll, you've got all of Studio Ghibli. So that's it is genuinely great filmmaking. You're muted.
Awesome.
Johnny, do you have any more questions for Connor?
No, I don't think so. I guess, I guess, yeah. Is there anything that you would like, maybe you haven't had the opportunity to, bring it up as much to us, but is there anything that you would like Luke and I to get more into that you're into, like, so you can spread your nerdiness?
That's a tough question because, when I got into this, you guys were showing me stuff to watch, and it was really, really great because I didn't really have anything to bring to the table that you guys didn't already get into, because Luke's already into Crash. Johnny, you're already into horror. I don't have anything right now that you guys aren't already into that I like, because I enjoy that I'm still learning so much.
Okay.
Nice. Well, so
that might have been a cop out, but it's like, you guys like that's the fun of being on here, is because you guys show me so much.
Yeah. Well, so make sure that you go and wish Connor a happy birthday as well. So Connor and Tyler are both celebrating their birthday, even though Connor is turning 25. He is actually going to be, 72 at heart. But yeah, be sure to wish.
Point. If you guys do anything, listen to some more classic rock. Then we can start jamming together.
Awesome. So, so thanks, Connor, for opening up more about your nerdy past, even if it is different from what we had with Johnny, with me, with Corey, with anyone, down the line that we would have on as well. That's just, how it is. Even with our interview with Gabe, like Gabe gave different answers than what the other, like we could ask the same couple questions to all of us and we're all going to get different answers just because we're all different people. So now let's move on into recommendations. So, keeping the train going with Connor. So Connor, you recommended a couple weeks ago, since we didn't do one with our Christmas episode last week, you recommended us watching The Shawshank Redemption, which is a fantastic film. And so first off, I mean, besides the fact that it's a fantastic film, what made you pick recommending Shawshank?
It's my all-time favorite movie. I thought, if we're going to do this one about me, you guys need to watch it.
Yeah, it is. Like I mentioned in the Christmas episode, actually, I read the book before I watched the movie. It's one of my brother's favorite movies of all time as well. It definitely is a great movie. And so I read the book for to get into honors English as a sophomore in high school, and then watched the movie and had to write a paper comparing the two. And yeah, it's one of the few movies that I think is just as good as the book. Like, the movie is always not as good as the book, but this is one of the few where I feel like it really comes close to like getting there. There's only a few changes between the two. It's awesome. I was very happy once you said that this was the recommendation, because I was able to go back and rewatch it. So I was happy with it. So thank you for recommending it for myself. And also, just the other one I want to mention before I let Johnny talk about his thoughts on it is, this came out in such a loaded year. Like this came out. So think about it, like this was kind of a box office disappointment, not really a full failure during its theatrical run, because it was competing with Forrest Gump and Pulp Fiction. Like those are three of the most popular films of the 90s. All came out in the same year. Like you can ask people like, what's the best movie of all time, and you're gonna get people that are gonna throw those three movies in there. So like the fact that it's there, that it came out the same year, same time as two other incredible movies is just insane.
Yes, yeah. And one thing that's really cool is like there was a loaded cast of people that were auditioning to play Andy. Tom Hanks, Tom Cruise, and Kevin Costner all auditioned for the role, but I'll ultimately give it to Tim Robbins.
And then you have Morgan Freeman on there. You have Clancy Brown. Like it's a loaded cast. It's great. So Johnny, what did you think of it then?
I really liked it. I've seen it before, but it'd been so long that I only remembered some of the biggest parts of it. But it's such a I don't know how to explain it. I mean, the parts with Brooks broke my heart, obviously. Like that just like he was such a sweet guy, and it's just they did a really good job of explaining that like when your life is spent so long on the inside, it's like how do you go on from a life like that? And that scene at the end, Brooks' last scene, is actually really iconic, because I remember there's a few different times that I've seen it mentioned or parodied, and I remember as dark as that scene was, I remember that it was parodied on Drawn Together. And so they definitely didn't do it tastefully, but
Family Guy did it too. I'm pretty sure The Simpsons did it as well.
Yeah, but yeah, the whole movie is just so good. It's just Morgan Freeman is phenomenal, and like it's funny because like he looked old then, and so he's still alive today, and so like it's just going more like giving more evidence to like he's probably like immortal. But like
exactly, because he's 83 right now, and that came out in 94. God. So like 26 years ago, and like so like he was in his late 50s. I'm sure they threw on some makeup on him to make him look a little older, but still
they aged him throughout the movie, because it was how long was he in jail for?
Almost 20 years.
Yeah, I want to say it was like 20 to 23 years he was in jail. Tim was, and Morgan Freeman's character Red was in there even longer than that. So yeah, this is a timeless classic. It's considered it's always in the top 25, top 50 films ever made. But I think the what makes it so timeless is just how heart-wrenching the whole thing is, and how unfortunately that still happens today. Is like there's a lot of innocent people in prison right now, and this is just kind of it's the fact that this guy is sticking it to the man the entire time is one of the reasons I really love it, because there's that gangster scene where he's playing the record player. And they're like, you turn that down right now. Turn it off. He goes, reaches to do that, and then turns it up. And I was like, oh, yeah, fuck all y'all.
Yeah, but I mean...
And he was still, like, and because of how he was needed, he was still, you know, I wouldn't say treated with respect, but he was manipulating the people who were, who were above him.
Using him. It was... Yeah, so it granted him some immunity. They weren't going to kill him.
Right.
Yeah, and go to the whole idea of like just the struggles of prison. I mean, that's another like realistic thing with Brooks, unfortunately, as well as that's just a thing that comes that unfortunately sometimes people who are in prison for so long, it's hard for them to adjust, it's always a tough thing. That's another thing about this movie is that it does a good job of like capturing some of the real struggles of what prison can do for people. So what a great movie. So Connor, excellent recommendation. I definitely give it a 10 out of 10. Sisters gang.
Oh no.
No, but yeah, no, it's a great movie. Like wonderful film. Definitely go watch it if you have never watched it before. Please do. It's a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
I would give it 9.5 out of 10 very large posters
of Rita Hayworth.
All right, yeah, that's the highest I think I've gotten on this show before. I think that tops even Billy Joel's The Stranger. This whole film 10 out of 10 birds in the cardigan, and I'm really glad that you guys enjoyed this. But I mean, I didn't have any doubt that you guys were gonna enjoy this because it is such an iconic film.
True, and also we can do another quick one as well. So since Gabe was on a few weeks ago, thanks again also to Gabe Ocarina96 for joining us. But he recommended Xenobreed Chronicles 2. Although we don't have those games, it's a little bit harder. So more just stuff that what I did is I'm not as much of an RPG guy. I watched the IGN review, and I will more review that. But as someone who's not as much into RPGs, I can see the appeal of this one, and it seems like it does. While it looks to like just looking at gameplay from the trailer, from the review and listening to what they're saying, there are a lot of things that like you could tell me it's another random RPG, and I'd be like, oh, cool. Like there's a lot of stuff that went over my head just because I'm not into that type of genre of video games. But yeah, it looks like it was a nice evolution of the first Xenoblade game, and just a nice RPG that came out, because that was the thing with I know that was on a lot of people's lists of the best JRPG of 2017 and stuff like that. So nice to see getting exposed to it, even if it isn't my cup of tea. So what about you guys? What did you guys do to consume this without or did any of you actually go out and buy it and play it?
No, I haven't played it, but I did look up some gameplay, and I also looked up IGN and some other reviews on it, and it looks a lot of fun. There are some slight differences I've noticed than from the Xenoblade Chronicles 1 that came out, or the remake that came out earlier this year, and so I am a little bit hesitant to get it myself. Not necessarily against it, but I will need to dive deeper into it, because Gabe got me into the first one, and I really, really, really enjoyed it, and it's not my kind of game whatsoever. And so he's got even better things to say about this one. So I'm hoping that the sequel is going to be even better eventually when I do get it.
Mm-hmm. I read a review on it. I don't normally get into games like this, so I don't know how ready I would be to go out and buy it. But I mean, what I'm reading, or what I was reading, was that it's got really great fleshed out characters. The boss fights were not very repetitive. Visually, it's stunning. So it's got all the makings of what could be a very enjoyable.
That's a thing that not all, even some of the best RPGs you talk to people, that's something that not all those can say. So like that has that. It got praised for its voice acting. So yeah, so like this definitely has the makings of being a well-made RPG that, even someone like myself and Connor who may not be into them might be able to get some sort of enjoyment out of. So while it may not be my cup of tea, my personal grading may be a lot lower, but in a grading of more like a broad sense, I would, this is definitely a good recommendation from Gabe. And if you are into RPGs, do definitely check this out if you have not yet. So don't do it necessarily, since we haven't played it, and then two, like a couple of us aren't as into RPGs, but what would you rate it more as a whole, as a concept of this game? So even if it's not for you, like someone who would appreciate it, how would you rate this recommendation?
I'll go. I think it has the makings of a 7 3/4 stars out of 10. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to go boring stars because I don't have, experience to give it something quirky.
Yeah, I would do. I'd probably do a 7.5, 8. Varied locations out of 10 as well. That was one of the other praises IGN gave it, is that even if it may have had some like tropes you see in video games, here's your grassy world, here's your city, here's your snow level, like that. It was varied enough. So I can a 7.5, 8 varied locations out of 10 would be what I would do for someone who would appreciate these type of things.
Okay. Based off my excitement of it, I would also give it an 8 out of 10 Nopons, which are the cute little race that Ricky is one of the characters in the first one. They're little like fuzzball race characters. So yeah, 8 out of 10 Nopons.
All right.
Nice. So that means then it is my turn to go. And so just like with this last recommendation, there'll be a few weeks off before we actually talk about it with stuff, as just with how busy the holidays are and our recording schedules and all that. So we won't talk about this for a couple weeks, but I wanted to recommend another YouTube video. I've been watching a handful of these guys' videos again. The Game Apologist, who I want to say I recommended one of his videos a few months ago. He made one before he went and did a bunch of stuff for Knuckles Chaotix for the last month and a half. But this one he did was for Shadow the Hedgehog. And so the video is titled Super Shadow, The Light in the Darkness. And so basically it's why Shadow matters as a character. He's been making a lot of these type of videos in the Sonic series, why modern Sonic matters, why Sonic 3 and Knuckles is important, why Sally Acorn matters in the Archie comics, stuff like that. So it's another one of those where he will talk about the just like what makes Shadow such an important character to the franchise. So as Shadow has been one of my favorite characters in the series, it's been great, and Nick, the guy who runs this, has really become one of the better Sonic lore channels that I found more recently. Because Cybershell, guy who I've recommended before, definitely goes into some super deep stuff. But Nick has gone into some pretty crazy stuff as well, like he did with some of the different comic renditions of these characters. So this was my recommendation. So it's just a 35-minute video on Shadow the Hedgehog. So I linked the YouTube video to you guys in the show notes, and so you guys can find it on YouTube by the Game Apologist. Super Shadow, The Light in the Darkness. So give it a watch, and then when we do reconvene after the holidays for one of our next episodes, then we can talk about it. So, bam.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I also love Shadow. So. Yes,
Shadow pre like modern Sonic, like the meta era, was great. Even as messy as Shadow the Hedgehog is, Shadow is great in Adventure 2, and solid in Heroes and Shadow in 06, and then kind of sucks after that. But I mean, every character that's not named Sonic kind of sucks after 06. So
fair.
That's not a new thing.
Except for Omega, he is best boy.
Every time you recommend a video, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm really going to like this. I always end up enjoying it and having a really great time with it. So that's what I was thinking about this. Like, I don't really know how much I'm going to like this, but I know it's you based off experience. It's going to be quite an enjoyable experience.
I watched his video on Sally Acorn, and he talked for like 50 minutes on why a comic book female character like that isn't even in a running series anymore mattered, and so it's stuff like that. But yeah, hopefully you guys do enjoy the video, and be sure to watch that before we do that again in a couple episodes. But now it's time to move on into the sponsorships and just the kind of wrapping up the episode. So this podcast is sponsored by Anchor, the easiest way to make a podcast. Visit anchor.fm to start your own. This podcast is also sponsored by ByLightFixtures.com. Visit ByLightFixtures.com for a trusted source of quality lighting products for your business or home. definitely start a podcast or get some lighting products if you have some money burning in your pocket after these holidays. These are some nice things you can do, some hobbies you can pick up, or just to decorate your home. And also a big thank you to Tom Taylor once again from Tailored Beats for the intro and the outro of his podcast. Follow him on SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/tailoredproductions. And of course, as always, be sure to follow us on social media. Johnny did go out and tweet out more recently some of our collective, best games and movies of 2020 as the year is wrapping up. So be sure to just be following us on Twitter and on Facebook and on Twitch as we are going to the new year, and we can have some new plans with that. And also don't forget about Connor's show, Moving in Stereo. As we mentioned a couple weeks ago, we did get the audio issues fixed, and that episode is up on YouTube as well, so you can listen to him and Tyler talk about music, just like what we talk about the nerdy stuff on here. And guys, by the time that this episode is releasing, we will be only a couple days away from ending 2020 finally. So, hooray! The year is finally almost done. So
that means that everything going forward will be great again, right?
Exactly. So hopefully 2021 is a little better than 2020 and stuff like that. But be sure to tune into next week, speaking of 2021, as we will be talking about a lot of our things we're anticipating for 2021 in the nerdy sphere. What are the games and movies and stuff like that we are looking forward to. So be sure to look on that before we take a week off to relax and celebrate the holidays. So we will see you guys next week.